Hi guys, let me take you back a bit to a version of myself that used to show up at work every single day. I used to show up very composed, not second guessing myself. I knew exactly what I wanted. I never took things personally. But, well, there were situations that would push me to a point where I would kind of be personal with things, but it wasn't in my nature. But in terms of the positive traits, that wasn't me. So where was the real me who was thinking and overthinking conversations I had with an employee or in a meeting? Me who was writing, erasing, and rewriting an email just to make sure it doesn't sound too harsh, too difficult, too aggressive, too emotional, too direct, or too anything. Me who was trying to decompress before I walk into the next meeting or before I walk into the next difficult conversation, just to look or to be human again. And now sitting here and looking back in terms of the amount of energy we spend trying to bridge a gap between who we actually want to show up as at work versus who we truly are at our core is highly immense. And that's the conversation today. This is Babette. Welcome in. And whatever you'll be carrying into this conversation today, you are in the right place. We all have the first time where we got emotional at work. And this could be because of a situation that happened either in the boardroom, in a meeting, where something was said that does not really represent who you truly are. Either your efforts were being downplayed or minimized, and you just feel the energy in the room shifting. And before you even try and respond, you feel this huge emotional response sitting in your throat. You can't even defend yourself in that moment. What happens is you will walk out of the room and maybe go and vent, or you break down somewhere or to someone close to you. They will hand over to you their shoulder to cry on and basically tell you it's going to be okay. Like, manage your emotions, manage yourself at that moment. And whatever was said to you could be a misrepresentation of either your boldness, your quietness, or your directness, or even your enthusiasm. And somehow, because these experiences or these situations at work becomes part of our daily interactions, then slowly you start adapting to those situations. Your reactions becomes part of a survival mode because it's an everyday life. And so it becomes, or it ends up becoming, a default setting on how we show up at work. And so this comes down to the question where, I ask, what do we end up leaving at the door before we walk into the workplace? We leave behind our emotions, our enthusiasm, our disappointments, our frustrations, sometimes even the excitement, because we kind of filter it down to a very professional neutrality. And for some, it's also the struggles, the anxieties that they carry because they have to do like a presentation or something of that sort. But sometimes we deal with things like imposter syndromes, feeling that you're not competent enough, you don't have the right capabilities, or you don't have the best capabilities to do your job. All these challenges are heavy. We carry them in an invisible manner because nobody notices that we carry such struggles. And we carry them because being human, being emotional at work is not safe. And so what's interesting is that it becomes automatic such that we don't get to notice it. We don't notice even the cost of carrying these feelings. And here the cost is the burnout and the emotional exhaustion that comes from carrying a version of yourself that does not really represent who you really are. And we do that for, let's say, throughout the whole day, 8 hours or so. And this tells me that authenticity is highly sustainable because then it allows you to show up as the true version of yourself. It's about how much you show up as the real you at work. But then again, not every environment in the workplace is safe enough to be fully authentic. We compete, we compare, oh my God, we assess, we are being assessed. So you kind of become very protective of your emotions. And in my last episode, I spoke about the emotional self-protection, where you don't necessarily want to be fully emotionally exposed. And so it may not be realistic to become unfiltered at work. But one thing that I feel is worth asking ourselves is, how much of ourselves are we hiding at work that we shouldn't be hiding? And so maybe whatever we are hiding or holding behind is what will actually get us more connected to people or get us the support we need to maybe unlock our full potentials. Or is this unrealistic? So it's worth finding out. And so at some point in my own journey, I realized that The traits I carried along the way actually allowed me to be fully myself. And for those who know me, I'm an emotional human being. I feel, I express, and I speak. I'm a highly expressive individual. No matter how uncomfortable a situation would be, I will be expressive. And if I have to be emotional, I will be emotional. And I recall at some point where it came from a really good place, something that a feedback that I was told by my seniors, that I can become so emotional. So I was told to kind of suppress my feelings and to numb them. And it came from a good place. But looking back today, I realized that I was just human. I actually allowed myself to feel where I needed to feel. And there is nothing wrong with that. And I realized that I wasn't too emotional. I was probably just being, honest with myself, especially in a place that forgot what that really meant. And I understand that because of the nature of some roles, some of these feelings have to kind of be buried. The sensitivity, the intensivity, the honesty have to be left at the door before you walk in. But it's good to be aware, and we are just in a work in progress, I would say. And so maybe a self-reflective question should be, or could be, how do I build a version of myself where more of me gets to show up very authentically in the workspace? So take what you need to take from today's conversation and leave what you do not need. Until next time, ciao.